जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा जय गोपी जना वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानंदना जय व्रज जनारंजना जय यशोदानंदना जय व्रज जनारंजना जय यमुना तीरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय यमुना तीरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय यमुना तीरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा जय जय गौरानिताय 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 जय गौरानिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotra Satashi Srimad Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON founder Acharya BBT founder Acharya Savior of the whole Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Granthra Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki Nitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudidayet Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. We are reading from Canto 3, Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Chapter 27, entitled Understanding Material Nature, verse number 1. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prakritastopi Purusho Najyate Prakritir Gunaihi Avikarad Akartritvan Nirgunatvad Jalarkavat. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Prakritastopi Purusho Najyate Prakritir Gunaihi Kartritvan Nirgunatva Jalarkavat. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prakritistopi Purusho Najyate Prakritir Gunaihi Avikarad Kartritvan Nirgunatva Jalarkavat. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prakritistopi Purusho Gunai Nakaranakartitvam Nirgunatva Jalarkavat. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prakritistopi Purusho Najyate Prakritir Gunai Avikarad Kartritvan Nirgunatva Jalarkavat. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prakritistopi Purusho Najyate Prakritir Gunaihi Avikarad Kartritvan Nirgunatva Jalarkavat. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prakritistopi Purusho Najyate Prakriti Gunaihi Avikarat Akartatvan Nirgun. Matajis. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prakritistopi Purusho निर्गुणत्वा जलार्कवत् श्री भगवानुवाच प्रकृतस्थोऽपि पुरुषो नाज्यते प्राकृतैर्गुणैः अविकारात् अकर्तृत्वान् निर्गुणत्वा जलार्कवत् श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रकृतिस्थोऽपि पुरुषो नाज्यते प्राकृतैर्गुणैः अविकारात् अकर्तृत्वान् निर्गुणत्वा जलार्कवत्. Word to word. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The personality of Godhead said, Prakritistaha, residing in the material body, Api, although, Purushaha, the living entity, Na, not, Ajyate, is affected, Prakritaihi, of material nature, Gunaihi, by the modes, Avikarat, from being without change, Akartritvat, by freedom from proprietorship, Nirgunatvat, from being unaffected by the qualities of material nature, Jala, on water, Arkavat, like the sun. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. The personality of Godhead, Kapila, continued. When the living entity is thus unaffected by the modes of material nature, because he is unchanging and does not claim proprietorship, he remains apart from the reactions of the modes, although abiding in a material body, just as the sun remains aloof from its reflections on water. Purport. In the previous chapter, Lord Kapila Dev has concluded that simply by beginning the discharge of devotional service, one can attain detachment and transcendental knowledge for understanding the science of God. Here the same principle is confirmed. A person who is detached from the modes of material nature remains just like the sun reflected on water. When the sun is reflected on water, the movement of the water or the coolness or unsteadiness of the water cannot affect the sun. Similarly, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojataha, Bhagavatam 1-7, when one engages fully in the activities of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, he becomes just like the sun reflected on water. Although a devotee appears to be in the material world, actually he is in the transcendental world. As the reflection of the sun appears to be on the water but is many millions of miles away from the water, so one is engaged in the Bhakti Yoga process. One engaged in the Bhakti Yoga process is nirguna or unaffected by the qualities of material nature. Avikara means without change. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that each and every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and thus his eternal position is to cooperate or to dovetail his energy with the Supreme Lord. That is his unchanging position. As soon as he employs his energy and activities for sense gratification, this change of position is called vikara. Similarly, even in this material body, when he practices devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master, he comes to the position which is without change, because that is his natural duty. As stated in the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, liberation means reinstatement in one's original position. The original position is one of rendering service to the Lord, Bhakti Yogena or Bhaktya. When one becomes detached from the material attraction and engages fully in devotional service, that is changelessness. Akartritvat means not doing anything for sense gratification. When one does something at his own risk, there is sense of proprietorship and therefore a reaction. But when one does everything for Krishna, there is no proprietorship over the activities. By changelessness and by not claiming the proprietorship of activities, one can immediately situate himself in the transcendental position in which one is not touched by the modes of material nature, just as the reflection of the sun is unaffected by the water. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदवनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे प्रकृतिस्थो अपि पुरुषो न अज्यते प्रकृतेर्गुणैः अविकारात् अकर्तृत्वान् निर्गुणत्वाज् जलार्कवत्. The personality of Godhead Kapila continued when the living entity is thus unaffected by the modes of material nature. Because he is unchanging and does not claim proprietorship, he remains apart from the reactions of the modes, although abiding in a material body, just as the sun remains aloof from its reflection on water. So, before I begin, I would like to seek the blessings of all the devotees who have assembled here, especially His Holiness Ame Vilas Maharaj. So, we find in this material world there is a particular tendency that until and unless one is frustrated in material life, one actually doesn't turn to jnana and vairagya. Or you can also say one doesn't turn to bhakti yoga. It's only when one is actually completely exhausted in materialistic living, and therefore Kuntimani calls Krishna as Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. Tvam Akinchana Gocharam means you are the property of the impoverished. So similarly, you will find that on the other hand, some people, when they are embarrassed by material situations, time and again, with suffering after suffering, misery after misery, hitting their doorstep, then they finally start thinking a little more deeper about life. But there are some other people who still don't turn towards Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says, these are the people who have hope against hope, that material world has something in for me. Isn't it? So you will find, for in the example of Devahuti, because Kapila is explaining this material nature to Devahuti. For us, these chapters may sound very technical, but in the Vedic time, this was all simple chapters, isn't it? Anyone could understand. No qualification, no scholarly certificate, nothing is required to understand this. So Devahuti, we know how Devahuti was first, though she got an exalted husband like Kardama Muni, who was a pure devotee in himself, still later on, of course, she serves Kardama Muni with great submissiveness according to the desire of Kardama Muni, without expressing her own desire, which actually pleases Kardama Muni to the point that Kardama Muni goes on to satisfy all her desires, isn't it? By which he built a home, flying castle, flying city, and all types of sense gratification was provided to Devahuti. Whatever you can imagine and whatever you cannot imagine, everything was there in that city. But as is the nature of the material world or of material enjoyment, Krishna says, yehi samsparsha jhaboga dukkha yone evate adi antavantah kaunteya. That means any materialistic enjoyment has a beginning, has an end, isn't it? Therefore, one scientist says, after copulation, all animals are sad, according to his scientific research, isn't it? That means copulation is considered to be the epitome of sense gratification. But his research, he found all living entities, after uniting, they are sad. Why? Adi antavantaha kanteya. Of course, there are other reasons also. So what you will find, enjoyment means we want ever expanding happiness. And how much distress do we want? Always reducing distress. So more and more we are trying to expand happiness in this world, and therefore every endeavor in our life we are putting in whatever direction is to expand happiness. If someone is sitting in the Bhagavatam class because we know that by attending Bhagavatam class I'll be happy, or even if someone doesn't have faith that by attending Bhagavatam class I'll be happy, we know by following temple president I'll be happy. Otherwise he can make my life miserable. Isn't it? So in this way you will find, even some people may say, oh really? Is it because we want happiness, that's why we are putting endeavor? But what about those people who commit suicide? They feel by committing suicide, by making my life zero, my existence zero, I'll be happy. Isn't it? So in this way, everyone is looking for happiness, but atyantika sukha pravritti, ever expanding happiness. How much? A temple hall of happiness? A city of happiness? No, unending bliss. So in this way, everyone is looking for atyantika sukha pravritti and atyantika dukkha nivritti. This is what defines our endeavors. No one in this world is endeavoring in any other direction than this. So when Devahuti had this flying city, but of course, Kardama Muni finally, he gave her 9 daughters, and as he had promised before itself, that I will be taking sannyas. He went on to take sannyas, but before that, Devahuti started crying. Why? Because she said, see, my dear husband, now I have understood that material enjoyment cannot give me happiness. But my misfortune that you who can help me are also now leaving. So please do something. And that one statement comes in that chapter. Vanchita Maya Dridam, devotee says. Because I got an exalted husband like you, an association of a pure devotee, which I did not value, and I only took some material benefits out of you. Why? How can you take a material benefit of a pure devotee? For example, some people can say, oh, do you know who my spiritual master is? This is such and such is my spiritual master. So someone is actually thriving off the fame of spiritual master, isn't it? So similarly, one can say, oh what, I'm not invited to this festival. Do you know who my guru is? He's the GBC of this location. So one can take material benefits of a spiritual master. So similarly, Devahuti said, Vanchita Maya Dridam means she felt so sorry that she actually took material benefits of a pure devotee. She didn't take the proper association. So then she says, please do something. And that is the time Kardama Muni says, okay, I'll give you a son. Who is? The Supreme Lord himself, Kapila. So in this way, when Kapila starts speaking, of course, Devahuti approaches Kapila and she asks for instructions, some spiritual guidance. That is the time Kapila starts speaking. So, how does she start? She starts by saying, "This materialistic existence have given me utmost suffering." This is how she's saying. Now she got whatever we are people in this world are looking for. And after getting everything, what is her realization? That this did not make me happy. So, Sri Prabhupada says, therefore, people who are intelligent see and understand, or hear and understand. But less intelligent people, even after experiencing, they don't understand. Isn't it? Therefore, he calls them as people with hope against hope. Similarly, in the 11th canto, when one Avadhut Brahmana, he's stating his 24 gurus. One such guru is Pingala. Now this Pingala was a prostitute, and her, as any prostitute, her job was to stand outside her home, give signals to men who would be passing by, in case they would like to enjoy her, and she would get a lot of money by such efforts. So when this happened, she understood sometimes she would be waiting outside her home, but no man would come. So she would get frustrated. Then after such disappointment, some man would come. But when he would come to her, she would find out he has no money. And again she would get frustrated. Like this frustration after frustration, what happened is Pingla started looking inward. And that is the time she says, Santam Samipe Ramanamrati Pradam Vitta Pradam Nityamimam Vihaya Akamadam Dukka Bayadishoka Moha Pradam Tucha Maham Bhajegnya. She's saying that actually I have the Supreme Lord present as a super soul within my heart. And how unfortunate that I'm actually looking outside towards other men. This is her realization. Why? Because of frustration. Nivritta tarsher upaniyamana bhavaushadi shota manobhiramat. Like that one verse says, I think 10th canto, beginning. Shukadeva Goswami is saying that the glories of the Supreme Lord is attractive to those who are materially exhausted. Nivritta tarsher, they are frustrated with material life. Then the Supreme Lord's glories come to be fully attractive. Why? Because they have lost hope in this material world. And those people who don't lose hope in the material world continue day on and day after day, month after month, year after year, trying to enjoy this material world despite their futile attempts to enjoy it. For example, I saw this one person, he was completely, as they say, specially abled, but he was missing a leg, missing an arm, different other kinds of abilities. But this person, I felt, he's suffering so much. So I thought maybe if you give him a Bhagavad Gita, he'll accept it because he has understood the nature of the material world. But even such a person had some hopes left that he will enjoy this material world. And he was looking at me and feeling sorry for me that I'm studying Bhagavad Gita and I've become a monk. Isn't it? So therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna calls these people who, after being embarrassed by material nature time and again, still they have not lost their hopes. Krishna calls them as less intelligent. Actually, he calls them as asuras. Asha pashay shater baddha. It goes like this. I think 16.11 or 16.12. Asha pashay shater baddha. If someone can find the words. So in that it is said, the demoniac quality is to keep hope in this material world. Hope against hope. You jump from a building thinking you are Superman, you break your head and legs, and next time when you get well, little better, and one doesn't learn a lesson, now he thinks, probably I did not jump from a right angle. Probably I should have jumped from another angle. And that's what people are doing, isn't it? So, for people who have hope against hope in the material world, there is no solution. 16:12. It's 16, 11, 12. 11 and 12 together. The second one. Can you say the second one? Baddha. Kama krodha parayanaha. Then. Ihante kama bhogartham. Anya nartha sanchayan. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the nature of the demons. So therefore, people who have hope against hope in this material world have no hope in spiritual world, in spiritual life, isn't it? So what is the solution for them? Actually, there is no solution. But Prahlad says there is one solution. Like when he is addressing his father Hiranyakashipu, he is saying Natur Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu durashaya. Why is durashaya said over there? Because people who are atheistic by nature, their hopes are in the wrong direction of material sense gratification. So therefore, Prahlad tells Hiranyakashipu verse after verse. Later on, he says, I mean, of course, that this is the time when Hiranyakashipu is asking Prahlad, where have you learnt all this from? Basically, he's saying, what is happening? How can I understand this? This is the time when Prahlad just quoted Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So then Prahlad says, my dear father, you cannot understand it. Why? Then mitopi badyeta grahavratanam. Is that the one? मतिर्न कृष्णे परतस्वतो वा मितोऽपि पद्येत गृहव्रतानाम् अदान्तगोभिर्विशतां तमिश्रं पुनः पुनः चर्वितचर्वणानाम्. Prahlad is telling his father Hiranyakashipu, you cannot understand even if you put endeavor on your own, or you go to a place where people are discussing about philosophy, still you cannot understand. They might try to convince you, but because in the heart of your heart you still have hope in the material world, therefore you cannot understand this. So what is the hope for such people? He gives a solution. He says, for such people, if they take shelter of a pure devotee of the Lord, they bathe in the dust, washing their feet, then some sadbuddhi can come in their head. Otherwise, forget it. Isn't it? So, I was stating this because Srila Prabhupada starts the purport by saying how Bhakti Yoga, he quotes 127, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahitukam. That means as soon as one performs bhakti to Lord Vasudev, as soon as Ashu, whenever Ashu comes means quickly, soon it is right now it is coming. So as soon as someone performs Ahituki Bhakti to the Supreme Lord Vasudev, then what happens? You get two fruits. And that is Jnana and Vairagya. So recently in one of the Bhakti Shastri classes I was hearing, we have all heard the all famous Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishyami Ma Suchaha. It is so famous that even a kid can explain this verse, isn't it? But usually sometimes devotees doubt. Krishna says, my devotee never perishes. He gives protection to his devotees, isn't it? But at the same time, sometimes we put endeavor in some direction and we don't get what we want. So then we get confused. How is Krishna actually protecting me? For example, in Ramayana, you will find Jatayu. He was fighting on behalf of, against Ravan. Why? To protect Sita. Complete pure devotional service, isn't it? But what happened? Did Jatayu win the battle against Ravana? No. Actually, he died because Ravana cut off his wing and he fell down and later on he died, passed away. So now, how did Lord Ram protect Jatayu, his pure devotee? Sarvadharman Parityajya. He did Sarvadharman Parityajya. Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Now, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishyami Ma Suchaha, from Krishna's side or Ram's side, how did it happen? Okay, there's no mic. Mic, can you get mic? Is it so? Anyway, you will find how did this happen for Jatayu? Yes, Jatayu did surrender everything to the Supreme Lord and for the purpose of the pleasing Supreme Lord. And did Lord Ram protect him? Yes, he did protect him. Why? When Krishna says, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishyami Ma Suchaha, I will give you protection and make you fearless. Even Lord Ram also says in the other verse, for anyone who says, Lord Ram, I am yours, I give you fearlessness. So when Krishna says, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishyami Ma Suchaha, don't worry Arjuna, I'll give you all protection. That means he is going to give protection to our practice of bhakti. If there is any distraction in the practice of bhakti, then Krishna can remove it. And that can also include, say, you want to have some good cooking ability and you're saying it is for Krishna. So that also Krishna can, we can put endeavor to become a good cook, but not necessarily Krishna can grant it. That depends on our sincerity of purpose, isn't it? So for Jatayu, did Lord Ram protect? Yes, because through death, Jatayu went back to Godhead. That's real protection of bhakti. So when Krishna is saying, I will protect, I'll give all protection to the bhakti of my surrendered devotees. So, so similarly, sometimes, actually there was one devotee, millionaire or billionaire in India, probably initiated devotee. So he, in his company, Mafatlal Textiles. So he had what they call tenure, not tenure, tender. So this tender, he said if his company would get tender, then it would actually boost his business by which he would do more service. And he said, but there is, it's a 50-50 chance. There's also a good chance of losing it. But if he loses this tender, he'll go into bankruptcy, he has to close his company, and he'll know what to do. So he went to his spiritual master and he was discussing, and as they were discussing, finally he came to conclusion. He said, okay, even if I lose the tender, no problem. I'll join full time in the temple and serve the devotees. That was his attitude. And of course the day came and his company, Mafatlal Textiles, got the tender and he got a lot of money. But through that money, he did more service. Isn't it? Because his mood was, if I lose the tender, I will go into the temple full time and serve devotees. If I get the tender, I'll use the extra profits to please devotees. Either way, I will please devotees. So now this tender was not a distraction in his path of bhakti. And therefore, Krishna granted it. Not a problem. Isn't it? So similarly, in our life, if one is sincere to make progress on the path of bhakti, then Krishna gives protection through jnana. For such people, Krishna gives philosophical understanding. I'm not talking about philosophical understanding on the theoretical platform. Philosophical understanding on the realization platform. Krishna gives them realizations. That is Krishna's protection. Krishna puts them in the association of devotees. That is Krishna's protection. Krishna engages them in pure devotional service where there is no name and fame. That is Krishna's protection. But for people who can handle it, he'll give fame also. Why not? Because he knows that such a devotee will use fame in Krishna's service only. Isn't it? So this is actually Krishna's protection. And therefore, when we practice bhakti yoga, jnana and vairagya will come. But the true understanding or essence of jnana and vairagya, by which I mean realizations in the heart, that is awarded by Krishna if we are sincere on the path of bhakti. Otherwise, Krishna will not give us anything. Isn't it? For example, you will find King Bharata, he had left with all good intentions to go to the forest to practice pure devotional service. If you study Śrimad Bhāgavatam, you will find he was practicing, chanting of mantras, it is said. In our terms, chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. Daily he was rising early in the morning, doing his morning rituals like Sandhya Vandanam and all that. And daily he would eat only simple. Whatever he would get from the forest, he would offer it and then take prasadam. This was daily schedule. And whole day engaged in meditation on the Supreme Lord. So he came to the point of experiencing bhava, ecstatic symptoms. He would actually cry, his hair would stand on end, his body would change colors and so on and so forth. But now what happened, as you all know the pastime of King Bharata, some point in time there was a deer which came to him. He picked up the doe from the river, took it to his ashram and got distracted. Isn't it? And you know how much he got so much distracted that at the time of death he was only thinking of deer. And he was thinking of deer so much that next life he was born as a deer. So therefore, now if I ask you a question, did Krishna give protection to King Bharata? You can use the mic. Okay, Mataji is saying yes. Okay, who can say how did Krishna give protection to King Bharata? Because many people say, they title their classes as Fall Down of King Bharat. Actually, His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj says King Bharata never fell down. Who can say? Okay, first question will be how did Krishna give protection? Mike is not working? Okay, I'll just repeat what you say. Okay, correct. So Krishna gave protection to King Bharata because by giving him remembrance of the past life in the next life. So deer had complete remembrance of what had happened. My other question was, how can you say King Bharata did not fall down? Anyone else apart from Narad Muni Prabhu? Yes, Mataji? Okay, something more? Okay. Okay. Because he didn't forget devotional service. Correct. 80%. Okay, so Apichet Sudrachara Bhajatemam Ananya Bhak. Even though his mind diverted from Krishna, but still he was a sadhu because he still remembered Krishna. Actually, at the time of death, King Bharata did not remember Krishna. He actually stopped, you can say. He was fully engrossed in the matter of the deer. But we can still say King Bharata did not fall down because he didn't go into material sense gratification. Fall down is only when one actually gives up Krishna, voluntarily gives up Krishna and goes in the other direction headlong. That is called as fall down. Whereas for King Bharata, yes, because Srila Prabhupada says this was his own insincerity. The words used are willful neglect. Prabhupada says willful neglect. He knew this was a distraction purposely, or even though knowing, he thought it's okay. It's okay to be neglectful. But the Shastras explain, Shurasya Dhara. There's a path of spiritual life is like a razor sharp path. Here and there, slight silly mistake here and there can cut us. And that's what happened with King Bharata. But still, he did not go headlong in the direction of sense enjoyment. And therefore, it's not fall down. So King Bharata became a dear Bharat in the next life. And in that life, by Krishna's mercy, he was given remembrance of the past life. And then what did he do? He did 5 things. I am not sure if I can recollect all 5. First of all, he repented with hot tears. He repented for his past neglect. Second, he left the home of the deers. That means he left the place of comfort and again went to the association of the sages. Same in the Pula Ashrama. Third, he gave up rich grasses, the fresh grass, and he would only eat dry leaves. Fourth is he would constantly hear the sages and he would just hear their hymns and the glories of the Lord and remember the glories of the Lord. Fifth is at the time of death, he simply was completely absorbed in the glories of the Lord. This shows, sometimes a devotee needs a little kick by Krishna and they adjust themselves back to devotional service. So, in this way, Krishna gives protection. We discussed the example of King Bharata. Similarly, we also discussed the example of Jatayu. So, therefore, when we practice Bhakti Yoga, whatever Krishna gives in our life, to the degree we are sincere, Krishna will give it so that we will be protected. Krishna is only worried about our own protection. If even being a devotee, if someone is lacking some, vairagya, if Krishna feels something will help him, take bhakti seriously, he can put some incident in our life where we can get distracted by sense gratification, get some kicks here and there, and come back. Now we have learned a lesson hard way, isn't it? Because we were sleeping in the Bhagavatam class, isn't it? So in this way, Krishna is concerned about our progress in bhakti, and to maintain our progress in bhakti, Krishna gives protection. And if we are sincere, Krishna gives protection through various means, jnana, vairagya, vijnana, association of devotees, the holy scriptures, access to pure devotees, isn't it? The yajna, opportunity to practice or participate in yajna. All this is Krishna's mercy for us to proceed in the actual journey. The material life is like a snake and ladder. You have played the snake and ladder? You go from 8 when you have a long ladder to 99 or something like that. Long ladder. No, to 93 or 95 or something. Then 98, there's one more long snake which will bring you back to square one. Isn't it? So material world is like that. You can make all the progress you want, but again come back to square one. No progress. So in the verse, there are two more words which are mentioned. Avikarat, akartitvam. Avikarat means the changeless platform. Because in this world, no one likes changes. I'm not talking about changes like, Prabhu, I need some peace of mind. I need some change. Let me go for a vacation. I'm not talking about that change. Change in duty. People are not satisfied. If someone is working as a software developer, SDE 1, then he wants the next position, SDE 2. Then gradually one wants to become a software manager. Then one wants to become his manager. Then one ultimately wants to occupy the CEO position. Isn't it? And why one company? He wants one more company. So therefore, in this world, you will find people are not at all satisfied in whatever position they are in. And so therefore, we have to come from the platform of vikara. Vikara, Prabhupada explains, as change, to the platform of changelessness. That is, being situated in our liberated position of being engaged in Krishna's service eternally. That you can do eternally. Chanting Hare Krishna you can do eternally. Service to Krishna you can do eternally. So therefore, liberation is defined as mukti hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. What is mukti? To be reinstated back into our original constitutional position in service to Krishna is mukti. If we are doing it, Prabhupada says in the purport, if we are doing it right now under the guidance of Guru, then we are we are already in liberated position. Isn't it? So therefore, avikara means changelessness means we want to come to that platform. Otherwise, in this world, it is said in the US, for a man when he goes to office, there's no guarantee of job. When he goes back home, there's no guarantee of wife. Based on true incidents. Isn't it? So therefore, job can change, partner can change, our moods can change. In this way, degrees can change, occupation can change. Prabhupada says dharma means not religion, because religions also change in this world. Muslim became Hindu, Hindu became Christian, Christian became atheist, again became Hindu. Whatever serves the purpose. But our position, when we attain devotional service, that will never change. Then we become peaceful. Isn't it? Therefore, avikara is said. And in avikara, how to come to the platform of avikara? First, we were discussing so much about not trying to enjoy material sense gratification or not having hope to enjoy material enjoyment. Why? Because akartritvat means not to think that I am the doer. Aham karta means I am the doer. Akartritvat means I am not the doer. Krishna is the doer. So why do we accept proprietorship in this world? Just for the purpose of enjoyment. Why? Because you cannot enjoy things that you don't own. So therefore, what do? We want more. One wants more money. Because he feels money can buy pleasure. Is not true. Why is not true? Because even though you have money, you may have objects, but that object doesn't have capacity to give happiness. So, first of all, one wants to own. He wants to own a company. Like Radheshyam Prabhu says, in one locality in Pune, he went. There was just a 6x6 small shop. But that shop had a huge board, saying proprietor, and his name was there. Small shop. But big board saying that I am the proprietor of this place. So there's a saying in English, even a beggar is proud of his penny, isn't it? Why? Because if he doesn't feel that I own it, one cannot enjoy it. That's the principle. Atheists think this whole world, or the materialistic people think the whole world belongs to me, and therefore I am the enjoyer. Some people want to control not only objects, people also want to control people. Why? Because you want to own the people, then you control the people. You control the people so that you can enjoy them. So first comes proprietorship, followed by controllership, third is enjoyership. And proprietorship means, who are the proprietorship? It corresponds to karmis. They want to own. Controllership corresponds to jnanis. They want to control and get ashtasiddhis, isn't it? That's a distraction for them. And then you will see enjoyers are enjoyers. There's yogis. Yogis want to control and jnanis want to enjoy. It's like that. So in this way you will find why enjoy. Jnanis want to enjoy because they want liberation. Into liberation they want to enjoy. They want to quit suffering. So therefore, bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, sakale ashant. Because they are trying to constantly enjoy in whatever form. Ultimately one wants to enjoy liberated position. So therefore, the enjoyer is never a proper term for living entity. So therefore it is said, prakriti-stho api purusha. Though he is called as purusha, but he is embodied in this world. He has a material body through which actually he cannot enjoy. In spiritual world, enjoyment is there, but not because the living entities want enjoyment. Enjoyment is there as a byproduct. You know this pastime when Daruka was fanning the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Daruka is Krishna's charioteer. So when he was fanning the Supreme Lord, tears would roll down his eyes and they would actually blur his vision of Krishna. And it would actually interrupt his service. So immediately he would curse that let this ecstasy go away. How many of you are ready to curse your ecstasy? Let it go away. We are wanting ecstasy, isn't it? We are telling Krishna, please give me some taste in chanting. Daruka is saying, let this ecstasy go away so that I can do my service properly. So the focus is how to serve. So therefore, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, when we practice, he says, this avikara, that means changeless platform, and akartritva, that means not accepting proprietorship, being freed from proprietorship mentality. These two leads to nirgunatva, that is freedom from modes of material nature. Only then it is possible. So therefore, avikarat akartritvan nirgunatva jalarkavat. How? Then a person can be situated in this world like a sun's reflection in water. When you look at water, a pond in summer, you find that sun is there inside. So the water can have waves on it. It can change its temperature, become very cold. It can have ripples. It can have disturbances. But it will not affect the sun. Though you can see sun in the water, that sun is actually completely away from water. Millions of miles away. Isn't it? So similarly, a pure devotee in this world can be present in this world doing the activities what we do. But still, he's actually completely far, far away. Because you are where your mind is. His mind is in the spiritual world. Isn't it? So in this way, we also become like that sun in water. Unaffected completely by water. So I'll stop here. If anyone has any comments or questions. Okay. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, you want to say something? ग्रंथा श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, ताई गौर प्रेमानंदे।